No matter what soil types you have on your place, whether you've got sandy soil based on granite rocks or river country with loamy soils up into shallow rocky soils on hills, or even heavy clay soils based on volcanic rocks, the topsoils you're managing, they should be alive. A living soil is a healthy soil, and a key part of the living soil is the soil organisms that are there. They're things like earthworms, mites, termites, ants, and a whole range of smaller creatures. These are what we call soil organisms. These soil organisms play a really important role in your topsoil's health and function. They help build and maintain soil structure. They're really important for nutrient cycling in your soil and for plant growth. And finally, they play a really important role in pest and disease control in your soil. In this short video, we're going to show you how to assess the diversity of soil organisms in your topsoil. The equipment you need to do the soil organism count is pretty simple. You just need a tray that you can spread the soil out on to do the soil organism assessment. You need a magnifying glass, or a couple if you want ones of different strength, so you can look a bit closer at what you're trying to ID. You need your cube of soil, obviously. You'll need a stopwatch, so a smartphone will do that if you don't have a watch on your wrist. And you need a soil organisms ID chart, which you'll find online and in the RASH manual. Finally, a spade and some water to wash up after yourself if you need to. And if you're really keen and you want to investigate more into the soil organisms that you're finding, then field guides to insects. There's a couple of them around that you can use to help you further your knowledge on the soil organisms that you find. Now that you've got your monitoring site sorted out and all your equipment's ready, you can begin to do your soil organism diversity assessment. The first step is to get your soil sample, and that involves digging a cube of soil. Ideally, you want a soil about 20 centimetre by 20 centimetre cube, but if you just get 10 centimetres, that's going to be fine. Once we've got our cube of soil, the second step is to actually get our soil sample out of that soil so we can do the actual soil assessment on it. And that involves getting your cube and carefully just getting the top 10 centimetres or so of that soil sample. That's where we want to do our count, because that's where most of the life is, in that top 10 centimetres. We don't need the whole cube, however, we just need half of it. So we're actually looking at a 20 centimetre by 10 centimetre section from that top 10 centimetres or so. You can do 5 centimetre depth if you want as well. So I'm just carefully breaking that cube in half to give me my soil sample. So here it is. So this is what we're going to do our soil organism count in. So now I want to spread that soil out. This is step 3. I want to spread my soil out on my tray, ready to do the assessment. So just carefully break open your sample and spread it out on your tray. You want to break it up fairly diligently so that it is quite broken up. You don't have too many big clumps, clods. You want to be spread out, and if there's any grass, you can always get rid of the actual grass on top. Once you've spread the soil out, just get rid of that top grass so it's not in your way. So now we've got our soil ready, and the key thing is here is that we've spread it out so that there's some spaces between the soil. That's really important. Now it's time to assess the diversity of soil organisms in here. And in this approach, under the RASH approach, the Rapid Assessment of Soil Health Soil Organism Count, we do a 5-minute count. So we have our magnifying glass and we get full light. It's important to do this in really good sunlight, and we can now start to look for soil organisms for 5 minutes. And all we're trying to do is see how many different types of things are there. You don't need to be a soil insect specialist or entomologist to do this. You're just looking for what different types of things are there. One of the really important things with this activity is to have some patience. You need at least 1 minute's patience, and I know that's difficult for a lot of people. But if you give yourself about 1 minute, your eye will start to get in on the soil and you'll be able to start to see things happening. But you do need to give yourself about 1 minute for your eye to get in. Once you've given that 1 minute to get your eye in, and if you need to take your glasses off, well, now's the time to do it. You can start to carefully move it every now and again, just gently exposing new areas of the soil. So for 5 minutes, I'm just carefully looking through to see what I can see. So just looking through here, I've been able to see some ants, and there's a beetle there and an earthworm. I saw an earthworm before. So I'm just carefully looking through for 5 minutes. Every now and again, I just slowly move the soil to expose some more light to the soil organisms, and that tends to get them to move and you can see them more easily. So every now and again, I'll just be moving it carefully around a little bit. Another trick to do as you're looking is not to try and cover the whole tray, but just to keep your vision in one small area at a time for a minute or so, and then move it around. Now that the 5 minutes is up, stop the clock, and I've made a note as I've been going through here of the different types of things I'm seeing. So I've just made a record of them down on my record sheet or just on a bit of paper, and so now I can count how many different types of things I've seen. In this case, I saw 4 different types of soil organisms, so I make a note that 4 different types was my score. Once you've measured your soil organism diversity using that tray count method, you need to benchmark and assess whether you've got poor or good scores of soil organism diversity. And one way you can do that is using the RASH manual, or the Rapid Assessment of Soil Health manual, and in that there's a bit of a benchmarking system. Basically, if you're getting 3, 4 or even 5 different types of organisms, then the soil organism diversity is pretty good and you'd be pretty happy with that part of the soil in that situation. If you're seeing no organisms in your soil and you've been monitoring at the right time of year when you've got soil moisture around, then that's cause for concern, and pretty much you've got a bit of a soil constraint around soil biological health. In that case, you need to look at options to improving your soil's organisms. Some of the options for improving soil organisms in your soil are keeping high levels of organic matter and maintaining good ground cover. Other things include reducing tillage. If you're doing tillage and you're in cropping, tillage really knocks around soil organisms. They don't like it. So reduce tillage where possible. And another thing to do is to just minimise fertility inputs and intensive agrochemicals if you can. Certainly overdoing them can change things in the soil as well. And finally, if you're in grazing, then getting a managed grazing approach or planned grazing approach on your property to enhance perennial grasses really does drive soil organism activity as well. If you're after any further information or you want some more detail on this, the RASH manual is available. Just go to the links at Goulburn Murray Landcare, Soil Land Food, or just look up the Rapid Assessment of Soil Health or RASH manual online.